a number of slides on these new exciting transfemoral techniques for branch repair, but we will also have a look at some other topics. So there's a lot of changes in the device market since this branch technology that you just witnessed has been introduced almost 20 years ago by Tim Shooter in San Francisco. You see an early version of the same T-branch device here. And since then, there has been a large variety of endografts aiming to treat all the segments of the aorta, just they have not come to all the markets yet. And there has been so many changes that sometimes today we have difficulties in understanding how the older devices work, and the newer devices usually are much easier to use. So what you've seen here is a case of the Cook Zenith T-branch device, which is an off-the-shelf 4-branch device that can be used to treat type 2 or type 3 or type 4 aneurysms. There's little data published so far, and this is a recently not yet published registry that has looked at 80 cases from 3 different centers. It has been exciting that although these were used in a significant number of urgent and ruptured cases, that the technical success of these T-branch cases was 100%, low 30-day mortality, and as you can see, the stroke rate was 3 of 80. And that is probably the most important shortcoming, and one of the important reasons why we today prefer the transfemoral access for the transbrachial, because we avoid the aortic arch, which frequently is diseased and has plaque, which can be caused to cerebral embolism. The market is growing, obviously, and the companies are preparing more devices for this area. So beside the Cook T-branch, Gore is moving forward with a 4-branched device, and also Jotec, which is a German company, is in preparation for an off-the-shelf device for this area. What is relatively new, but what I'm sure we will see is a new technology that is using inner branches. That technology comes actually from the aortic arch, where this is the main way of debranching the innominate artery and the carotid arteries. So these branches are on the inside, and in this anatomy, as you see here, they don't interfere as much with a more narrow landing segment in the visceral aorta. I'm sure we are just in the middle of a very exciting development, and we will for sure see more advanced technologies coming to market soon. So the case that you saw is about upper extremity access in branched endografting. And not many years ago, you see this publication from 2017, we were asking ourselves whether we should access in branched endografting from the right or from the left arm, depending on the pattern of complications, and we did not see a difference. And at that time we thought the upper extremity access is unavoidable. But there are actually frequently reasons to avoid upper extremity access in cases like this with significant thrombus in the area where we pass with large sheaths, but also other cases where patients have significant side branches like a Lima bypass that should not be compromised. And we have seen in our practice significant complications from upper extremity access, such as this terrible case as a pullout of the brachial artery. And for a 2-year period, we analyzed recently the number of necessary operations for brachial artery access complications, and found that 5% even need another operation for complications. Another good reason to avoid upper extremity access is radiation exposure, which you see here is much larger in branched endografting, where one uses a brachial access compared to fenestrated endografting. So from this traditional upper extremity axis, we we started 2 years ago using transfemoral techniques with steerable sheaths like this one. I just give you a case example. This was the second case we did. You see this is a case with 3 fenestrations and 1 branch for the celiac. And it was a relatively straight case, and even though the target vessel was challenging with a large aneurysm in the celiac ostium and a small stenotic celiac artery, we were able to catheterize this and attach it with a good result. A little bit later, we started with more challenging cases, like this case of a migrated infrarenal device, a large aneurysm, a lot of kinking in the descending and also the iliac artery, and an occlusion of the right iliac axis. And even though the angulations, as you see here, are less favorable, you see that we were able to access all these branches. And the exciting thing is that this was a thoracoabdominal repair of the full visceral segment to one single access point, and this was the case that convinced me very much that this will be our future preferred way of operating these kind of cases. That technique has been published only with a small series of 4, but we have currently experience with more than 50 cases with a very good technical success rate, and we're constantly changing our preferred sheaths, and you saw a standard flexor sheath used in this particular case. We have analyzed a little bit at the beginning of the year when we had 35 cases, and not all of them were T branches, some of them were CMD branched vessels. You see 112 target vessels, and only 15 of these cases were inadequate upper extremity access, while the other one would have had a good access. We just at that point already made this our standard technique. Result was a high technical success rate. Only 1 branch could not be accessed from the femoral artery. We made the experience that operating fluoroscopy time is comparable to what we did before, and actually the most recent experience is that we are even quicker when we operate from the groin. One important thing is what Giuseppe described as a stabilization technique of the sheath, and that is some kind of wire that keeps the sheath down and will avoid all unnecessary movements that can be caused by any stiff devices tracking those sheaths. So the technique that you just witnessed looks like this. Important is to have one a little bit bigger sheath, like of this 14 French sheath, and you see this is a 1245 inside a 1430, and these wires here or sutures allow the bending of the sheath. Most exciting changes that we see is probably in imaging. Despite all the great workstations that are available for us to plan complex cases, it is exciting to see that CT fusion has become a standard and is really helpful not only for the operator but also for the rest of the team in the OR. And the companies today provide relatively easy workflows of using the preoperative CT of the patient to fuse this with a live fluoroscopic image, so that you get all these kinds of helps with the visualization of the target ostia, which makes the procedures faster. One of the real exciting new techniques is the force, which has not yet started. We're looking forward to see that technology in a short time. That is a non-fluoroscopy technique to visualize catheters and wires, and allows actually also 3D visualization. You see an example from Utrecht University Hospital here, and as I think one of the last slides, you see this technology without any radiation is able to visualize this catheter and wire. You see the live screen here, and you see can witness how accurate the visualization of these techniques are, and that the visualization is even superior to what we have in fluoro, because we can use angulations that not have been thinkable before. So to conclude, endovascular repair of thoracoabdominal aneurysms with endovascular thickness is today mature. we think upper extremity access is mainly a hassle and should be avoided in this kind of imaging, and new imaging techniques are on the horizon for even more exciting cases. Thank you very much for the attention.